right, well, welcome back to the Heiden Level Up Leadership Podcast. I'm excited to be on today. My brother, my friend, tight end for the New York Giants. Come on, we need like a horn, like a wham, like something we need some applause, we need some hype. We got Darren Waller here today on the podcast. Grateful, man. Thank you for jumping on.
Oh, yeah, man. It's an honor to be here. Honor just to sit down and talk with you, man.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm grateful for it. I'm a fan of DW. I'm a fan of Darren Waller. Being a Vegas guy, I've always wanted a pro team to root for. I feel like I've had to just kind of gravitate toward players and just adopt the team. But, man, when we finally got the Raiders, I had to just become a fan off the top. And I remember my homie Andreas gave me an invite to the game against the Ravens. What was that, the 2021 season?
2021 season.
2021 season. It was like the first home game where fans were allowed. Arena was crazy. And I remember somebody just around me just said, "Baller like Waller." You know what I'm saying? And I just took that and was like, man, I'm an automatic Waller fan. And you killed that game. And I think I even drove out for the Chargers game, and you had a crazy touchdown on that one on the side. So I'm a big fan of you as an athlete, but I'm even more of a fan of you off the field, in your leadership as a husband, as a kingdom man, as a musician. You know, you got a lot of different hats that you wear that a lot of people don't even know, but you also do a podcast called Comeback Stories. And I love your story, man. It's a comeback story. God has His hand all over it, and I'm just glad to be in the space with you today. One more time, man. Double introduction. Sorry about that.
No, man, I'm honored. I received that, and I appreciate it.
No doubt, man. You know, one thing I ask all of our guests that jump on here with me is, tell us one way that in this season of life you're leveling up in your leadership.
I'm starting with leveling up my leadership in my marriage at the home.
Yeah,
as you know, being the spiritual head of our relationship, making sure I'm leading in the practices that I continue to partake in on a day-to-day basis in the mornings. Making sure we're carving out that time, making sure we're praying together consistently, asking each other, you know, how we're doing there, and leading on that from making sure that, you know, my wife feels led, my wife feels safe, my wife feels encouraged.
So good, man.
I can go from there and go out into the world with it because I practice it in my home. So I try to, you know, I feel like everything translates from the character that I show in the home and with my wife, and however we may be doing, taking that spiritual role as seriously as possible. I feel like it translates into the game and my new team and anything else I may do, but I just try to start there.
Incredible. I mean, that's something that we say often is, you know, your spouse, that's your first ministry. If that's off, it affects everything else. I think even Paul says in 1 Peter 3, it's like one of these convicting verses as a fellow husband. It says, you know, make sure that you're living with your wife in an understanding where you're leading your home, because if not, your prayers will be hindered. I'm like, dang, like what? Like my prayer life is hindered because I'm not leveling up there first. So I think that's like such a spot on answer. And man, you just got married a couple months ago.
Yep.
And how's it been, man?
It's great, man. Yeah, we're just past the first month.
Yeah, past the first month.
So, you know, figuring out how to live together, because we never lived together before that. But that's been awesome. Sharing space hasn't been a burden in any way. But yeah, just getting how we navigate each other's schedules, finding small ways to serve throughout the day. Like
amazing.
If there's dishes in the sink or trash I can take out. And you know,
trying to initiate.
Yeah, like the smallest ways that I could possibly serve, start with doing those things, and being attentive to her day, like checking in on her in her day.
Incredible.
Not just, you know, we have busy schedules, not just wait until I get home to talk to her or let her know that I'm thinking about her. So it's just all about the little intentionalities that I'm starting to pick up on, and I'm like, okay, like and it's not just like a chore or anything. Like there's joy in it. There's excitement in it, and it still feels fresh. It still feels new.
Amazing.
It's not based on feelings, but I feel like we're really getting this thing going in marriage.
So good, man. Yeah, somebody came to this podcast and is probably looking for, a football nugget or maybe just something like a leadership tweetable statement. It's like, man, now I got convicted. Like I got to do a better job in the home first. And come on, God will bless the rest.
Right.
Last question on that just for a second. We can return there if you want, but a game of horse, you and Kelsey, who's winning that game?
It's probably Kelsey.
Yeah, she's
talking about one of the best shot makers in the world. I'm not gonna act like I put up shots maybe 3 or 4 days out of the year.
right.
I'm not gonna act like I can outshoot somebody that's in the gym every day.
You answered that question the right way. Even as a competitor, hey, got to give Kelsey her flowers on the podcast. She is incredible, and so excited for the world champion Las Vegas Aces, and just this upcoming season. I think it's going to keep getting better. So, man, your world just got turned a little bit upside down. You just played these past, how many seasons with the Raiders?
I got to the Raiders right after Thanksgiving of 2018 in Oakland. So I played a year and a half in Oakland, and then I played 20, 21, and 22 here in Las Vegas.
Right, man. It had 2 great seasons. This past year was a little bit challenging because you had some injuries.
Yep.
Tell us even how you worked through those injuries, and that was a challenge of character, of leadership, of focus, of just finding your joy in the Lord. Just talk through us through this past season and how you navigated that.
Oh yeah, it was challenging, but I feel like looking back, 19, 20, and what 21 was shaping up to be were very successful seasons.
Sure.
I feel like I will have learned the most from seasons like last year.
Wow.
Because success happened kind of fast. Like after I got reinstated, and I was in the practice squad in Baltimore for a year, and then came back to the Raiders, and I was starting that following year in 2019. And from there it was just bam, the success just came. And so it's like, okay, like the results are here, everything's good. And it's like, you can kind of get into that mode to where it's like, I feel good because I'm producing, or I believe in myself because the results are there.
Right.
But seasons like last year where, I missed 8 or 9 games, and, there were, narratives of me not being a great teammate or not doing everything I could to get out there when it was, when I really was, but I couldn't combat the lies or the rumors that were being put out there about me. I had to just be fully in on believing and having faith in what God had put in me, and what I was doing, and
control what you could control,
and the value that I brought without even the numbers and the results being there. Because I was battling that mindset a lot, and talking through that with my therapist and praying on it. It was like, man, I'm not out there doing my thing like I have been. Like, what do I have to say to these guys? Like, why would they want to listen to me? What do I have to offer?
Sure.
But it's really learning, like, I have things to offer no matter whether my performance is where people or I would want it to be or not. So it's lessons like that, and knowing that, God is working things in me in that season. It's like, okay, you've had success. But like, are you tied to that success? Is that success your God?
Come on.
Can I reach you and see and test your faith to see, like, are you more rooted in me and trying to do the work that I'm calling you to do in this realm, in this career? Or are you all about getting the stats and trying to fill the void that way, like you have been since you were a kid, trying to perform for everybody? So I take a lot of value out of last season. I don't view it with any kind of resentment or anything like that. Like, there were a lot of lessons that were instilled in me, and I believe that I have a new opportunity now to go out and do the best I can with it, but not just go into it for getting Darren Waller stats back up. It's really just being as impactful as I can be in this new locker room.
Man, that's so good. Yeah, it almost probably gives you even something like that could give you a newfound appreciation too, just for the game. Mm-hmm. I love the quote from, I've heard it directed toward Michael Jordan, but I don't know if he actually said it, but he's quoted saying, "I never lost, I only learned." Mm-hmm. And so, it's all about perspective, how you see it. It's like, man, I'm not going to see this as an L. I'm going to see this as a learnable moment. It's going to make me better. It's going to propel me for whatever the next season is, or even just what you're in right now. So I love how you said that. I'm even going to take this challenge. I'm gonna squeeze that out. I'm gonna drench out all the gems even from it. It's making you better, man. That's so good. So now you're on your way to the Giants.
Yep.
And is this year 8?
This will be year 8 playing, year 9 since the draft.
Wow. So you low key, man, you kind of like a vet.
I am like I said, I was on that trip with all the guys we were throwing in Arizona, and I was the second oldest guy there. Shout out to Tyrod Taylor, who's a guy I've got to know pretty well. I think he's a few years older than me, maybe 4 years older than me. Mm-hmm. And so he's approaching almost 15 years in the game.
Crazy.
But yeah, I was the second oldest guy there, and it's like, man, like how did I become one of the old heads so fast? You know, like I'm trying to go to bed, and dude's trying to go out and you know, and have fun and whatnot. I'm like, no, I'm trying to be up at 7.
Yeah, I got some work to do.
You know?
Yeah, man, that's awesome. What do you feel? You feel like there's some responsibility on you, you know, as kind of an old head, as a vet to. Well, we're on this podcast talking about leadership. What are some of the leadership characteristics that just are priority for you that you want to bring to this team, that you want to show kind of right off the bat in your first year with the Giants?
Something important about leadership for me is I don't want to ever be in a position where people feel like I'm telling them what to do, more so than I'm just sharing my experience with them in an authentic way.
Yeah.
Like I want to be the guy that shows these young dudes like they're being told, especially in a results-driven business, like you got to be on it right away. You got to produce right away. You got to, or we'll find somebody else or we'll do this. Whereas me, it's like my first year, I got on IR halfway through the year. My second year, I was suspended the first 4 games. And my third year, I was suspended the entire year. My fourth year came back, I was on practice squad. It wasn't until year 5 when I started.
Right.
And I had a couple years of success, made a Pro Bowl, and then, you know, injuries hit me again. So it's like there's these waves that you have to learn to ride and develop an authentic confidence in yourself. But it doesn't take perfection to get to where you want to go. Like you see me where I'm at, and you're like, man, I'd love to have a career like him. Well, if you look at my career, it's been failure on top of failure on top of failure, and then success is weaved in there. But it's been a little bit of everything. So trying to lead and let them know, like, hey, like as long as you're moving in this direction with intention and with purpose, like you may fall on your face a couple times, but I'm here to show you, I'm living proof that you can continue to press on and continue to, you know, get to the other side and see what God has in store for your career. It may not happen right when you want it to happen or how you want it to look, but it can and it will happen because you can look at me and see that's 100% proof.
Man, that's facts, bro. 100% proof right there. Yeah, it's like, hey, if you want Darren Waller success, you got to make sure you go through the Darren Waller journey.
Yeah.
Because it didn't just happen. That quote, I can't remember who said it, but somebody said I became a overnight success after a lifetime. You know, there's something to that. You know what I mean? It's like, man, I've been battling. I've been maximizing the off season. I've been going through ups, downs, training, all of it. And what you see when the lights come on, you know, is all of that put together.
Absolutely.
That's dope, man. I know you're gonna bring it into that space. And what's that? The concrete jungle.
Concrete jungle, yeah.
Yeah, man. So good. From Las Vegas and the West Coast to the concrete jungle, Waller's coming.
Picking up and moving, man.
Let's go. Man, you know, you just dropped an album in the past couple months, A Walking Miracle. First off, let me dap you up real quick. The album was nuts, man.
Appreciate it.
We just turned into the studio real quick. Like, man, I just thought it was so well done. I thought you were so authentic. Bars were crazy. And talk to us a little bit about the title. Where'd that name come from, Walking Miracle?
For me to take credit for the name, it's like I feel like most of the creations that I make are just like ideas that, you know, God kind of puts out there. Like, I heard Pharrell once talking about how you know, like the universe is like a library. You basically check out ideas. It's not really something that you just hard pressed into existence.
Deep.
And I really believe that, because there's moments where I try to force a title or force a song or force a line. It's like it's not happening, but something will divinely spark me. And at 1:30 in the morning sometimes, and it'll just flow out.
That's right.
So, but
came to you.
Just meditating on what a title that would be, that would reflect, you know, something that's authentic about my life or my journey. And that's one that I came across, and I was like, I'm rolling with that. And then I came with I wrote the spoken word.
Spoken word, track 1.
And that was like, okay, like that solidified, like, okay, this is gonna be the title just off of the first 2 lines of that spoken word.
No doubt, man. No, I think it what's the word, apropos, it made sense. And I think what you're sharing throughout that, the whole kind of body of work is this is not perfection, this is progression.
Right.
This is continuing to get back up every day. This is continuing to learn from the past and get better in the future. Is leadership, And so one of the lines that you share on one of the songs is we choose our level of distraction.
Yep.
And I think that's been speaking to me lately with so much going on in the ministry world and, as a husband, dad, etc. Like, I'm like, all right, I got to maximize. I gotta choose my level of distraction because I don't got time for it.
Right.
I wanna be a level up leader. Tell us about that quote. Where'd you get it from, and how are you applying that in your life?
So a lot of people know I'm in recovery. I've been sober for 5.5 years, and I go to 12-step meetings, and in 12-step meetings you get a sponsor.
Praise the Lord.
And my sponsor, shout out to Paul.
Yeah.
He dropped that gem on me one day. It was like, we choose our own level of distraction. And I'm like, and that's like crazy. Yeah. Like, you can apply that to temptation. Facts. You can apply that to your career. You can apply that to so many different ways. Like, if I'm really present to this moment and present to God and what he's trying to do in this moment, like, I can determine my level of distraction by how present I am to God and how present I am to the moment.
Right.
And I try to carry that into everything that I do. And it's just that mindset alone has made me a better player.
Right.
It makes me a better husband because I'm there and I'm excited to be tuned in to what Kelsey has going on. And, any area of my life you can think of, like, if I'm not great or fantastic at it right now, it's making me better when I'm tapped into that mindset. Man,
so good. Yeah, I thought about that. Just the other day, I was out with my family, and glanced at my phone. We were walking somewhere, and Nina said something to me, and I'm looking at something, I'm typing something, and I just it was just like, wait, what did you say? Hold on a second. And it's just like, man, I'm distracted. It could be anything really. And just that there goes that reminder. It's my choice. How I respond here, what do I do here? And I love that leadership lesson because I think in order to be a level up leader, not just an average leader, but say, okay, this year I'm gonna actually go higher. I've been at level 2, I'm gonna go to level 3. What's it gonna take? It's gonna take a new level of focus. It's going to take a new commitment to decrease the distractions and increase something even better. And I feel like, that's something you're doing. I want to talk a little bit about the game for a minute. When did you get your first passion for the sport of football?
I was 4 years old when I started playing football.
Yeah.
Somehow, I don't even really know how, because my dad's from New York, so he's really a basketball guy. I mean, he watched football when my mom watched football too, but they weren't like just these over-the-top passionate football people. And they're from the North. We moved to the South growing up in Georgia, but somehow I came across the old NFL films, like Steve Sable and all that you talk about from the 50s, 60s on up until late 90s, early 2000s. Like,
so you studied the game,
soaking that information in, and that was looking back on then was when I realized like my recall and like my able to retain information, because I can still run off people's names or what they accomplished or who beat who from then, and it's just like, wow. And that helps me like take a playbook in super fast. But yeah, from 4 years old, I was obsessed with that, and I put like offensive line and defensive line my first year, but I played quarterback from the age of 5 until my freshman year of high school.
Oh, so you had a little arm.
And I played baseball too. I probably did a little too much in baseball where I had to have a surgery and couldn't really throw like I wanted to, like going into high school, because quarterback was my passion. Like, I studied those guys.
Wow.
I appreciated the game and just like making sure I knew everything that was going on. And my parents will share stories about how I would tell the coaches when I was like 6 or 7, like they try to call play, like, nah, we need to run this play that way because they're doing this.
Dang.
Just because that's just how much I cared about the game. I would sleep with the football no matter what. If I was in a baseball uniform, I'll be running around the house with a football,
Really?
sleeping with a football. So very early on.
Yep. And then high school, you came up in Georgia.
Yep.
And at what point did you start to think, I think this is my future? Like, I got something here.
I never thought that.
Wow.
I never thought that. Toward the end of my high school career, I started playing my junior year of high school, started playing varsity, which is kind of late when you think of like big time guys, you know. And
so you started playing on the varsity team your junior year
of high school. Yeah,
that's crazy.
And
that's so good to give somebody hope too.
Yeah, because I mean, to go further, my freshman year on the freshman team, I rode the bench.
Wow.
In my second year, I was on the bench, or I was hurt if I ever did get in. So my junior year was the first year I played, and I had a pretty decent season, but I was like, didn't have any scholarship offers from it, so I was like, oh, I guess I'm gonna start applying to college like everybody else.
Wow.
And then I got my first offer was Western Kentucky University, and that was an amazing feeling.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of like, oh, well, like I got this, but like I'm gonna get to go to college and play football for free, and you know, get a free scholarship, and you know, take that kind of load off my parents, and you know, people in the community be proud of me. But
yeah,
I was like, that's probably as far as my college career is gonna go, because I was one of the lowest, if not the lowest rated player in my recruiting class wild. Going into Georgia Tech.
Yep.
And got there, and things kind of started over. But there was never a moment, even all through my college career and getting into the NFL, was I ever like, I'm going to sustain almost a decade-long career in the NFL and still have the opportunity to continue to get better even at that point. Like, those things never crossed my mind. I just didn't really have any confidence or self-esteem.
Man. That's so dope, bro. And you end up at Georgia Tech.
Yep.
And, you know, I've heard you kind of share some of your Georgia Tech story was like a little bit up and down, kind of roller coaster-ish.
Oh, just darkness, bro.
In darkness. Just maybe lean into that for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I always tell a story whenever I share my story anywhere. There was, you know, your parents move you into the dorm, and then it's like the moment was like, okay, like they leave, and they give you a hug and everything, and a couple minutes after that, these upperclassmen like kicked our door in and put a handle of Everclear on the table, and there was like, who's gonna? Somebody got to take a shot. Like somebody's got.
Wow.
And that was
right off the top like that.
And I was, you know, I was, you know, 3 years in of popping pills at that point, and I'd been drinking enough by then, drinking to the point where I knew like I can drink people under the table. Like there's something, and it's like, you know, it's genetic in my family, like a lot of alcoholism. And so I was like, oh, this is my moment. And essentially, and my identity became my drinking and my using. And, you know, the whole time I was like showing flashes of football, but like the passion for football wasn't there. It's just because the addiction started to take over.
Wow.
And football became a chore at that point. But it was just a lot of, you know, getting arrested, failing drug tests, someone's getting kicked off the team.
Right.
You know, just doing wild stuff on bowl game trips, and you know, just you know, no spiritual life or existence whatsoever. Just
you used the word dark. You know, it was a dark season in your life. Talk to us about how you started to confront those addictions, almost like they started to break through some light in the darkness.
Oh man, I'd like to say the addictions confronted me. More so me confronting them.
Say that.
Because I feel like with the way that I've had to learn a lot of things was crashing and burning into a blaze, hard into a wall, was how I learned things. And that's how I learned. You know, it took a couple years into my NFL career, about to go into my third year before where I overdosed, and 2 months before my overdose, I was suspended by the league for the amount of drug tests I had ultimately failed.
Right.
And so yeah, after overdosing, though, this was 2017, August 11th, which was just kind of like, but looking back, it's like that's what God had to do to at least crack the door open a little bit for me to be a little bit willing or a little bit open-minded towards a shift or towards letting him back in, because my spiritual history up until that point was, I just remember going to church when I was a kid, and black church in the South is 9 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Right, sure.
Falling asleep in there and getting the back of my head slapped because I'm falling asleep, and church was a chore. And then it turned into, if I show up to these youth groups as a teenager, like I do these things, like I show up, oh, God's got to bless me, almost like a transactional religion.
Wow.
And then I kind of picked up on the fact that this doesn't seem
something's odd.
Right. And then I just ran from it. And then that's when everything kind of started to transpire the way it did. But after the overdose and then going to rehab and, through the 12 steps, like just being reintroduced back to who God is and figuring out who God is to me, that's when things started to shift for the better. That's
so good, man. What a powerful testimony. And it's a testimony for you of your journey. And it's also a testimony of the Father, right? Like saying, I love you and I'm with you through it all. Right. Through growing up in Georgia, long church services, youth group transactional relationships, Georgia Tech, dark season, traded to the Raiders, in a way getting a fresh start. And the Lord is like, right on time. I've been here with you through each step of it, and I still got more for you. And I'm grateful that even as you said, the addictions confronted you, but even the Lord was greater. Right. And man, just to see you thriving today, and and so okay, fast forward, and now Darren's traded to the Giants. Like, all right, I'm bringing some level up leadership into this new locker room. You can speak all the languages, whether that's if you want to speak dark, if you want to speak party, if you want to speak identity in sports, if you want to speak, growing in the Lord. You're like, man, I let's do it.
I've been there. I've been around a little bit.
Yeah, man. And praise the Lord for the journey, man.
Amen.
That's just that's incredible to hear. I think it's dope for this podcast because there's a variety of different people that are going to be listening to this. Some are just going to their 9 to 5 and they pop this on in the car. Other people are pastors. Other people are leaders. Other people are, well, I want to say everybody's a leader in some capacity. It's what type of leader are you going to be? You going to be a level up leader, or are you going to be an average leader? And so I love how you're thinking through that. Final thing I want to just hit with you is, I know that this book has been speaking to you. I'll just go ahead and highlight it. It's John Mark Comer, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Mine's a little kind of beat up, got some coffee stains on it.
As it should be, man.
As it should be, man. I just try to keep this one close. Something about this book is just, it's like a voice for the generation.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that I've heard you reference it. Talk to us about how this book has encouraged you.
Just the title alone of, and it talks about in the book about how somebody asks how you, like, oh, how you doing? Like, oh, I'm busy.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Facts.
Wow, like how many people say that? Like, I say that a lot.
Yeah.
And I'll respond and be like, busy is good.
Yeah.
But in this hurry, we confuse like that our busyness isn't necessarily like fulfillment or purpose driven.
Yeah.
And we're moving so fast, trying to accomplish so many things, trying to get to a place where, the world told us we should get to. We don't even know if we want to get to that place.
Yeah. Who told you to go there?
Right.
It's like, wait, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Who told you that? But this book confronts all of that. And it's like, we think in order to accomplish what we want to accomplish in our time on this earth, like we need to move faster. We need to go harder, when really, like, this book is telling us, like, we need to slow down and move at the pace that God wants us to move at. And just how, if we hurry, how burnt out we can be and how depleted we can be. But if we eliminate the hurry and move at that at times a slow pace, move at that a restful pace, a pace that we can maintain, we can get to where we're supposed to go. A lot of times quicker, but
say that
where we have more in the tank to give to our families or to give to our friendships and give to the things that ultimately matter to us at the end of the day, as opposed to just becoming slaves to success and accomplishments and achievements. So, I mean, this book is like, it's a game changer. If
Shout
you read
out
that
to,
book, your world's going to change.
No doubt, man. Yeah, your world. And if you try to apply some of this, it has to change. Like some of the challenges, like go into the longer line at the grocery store.
Oh my gosh!
Like man, we speeding in the cart.
Get into the far right lane and drive the speed limit. But it's the psychology behind it. Me being a drug addict, like paying like this, like
former drug addict.
Yeah, it's a disease of instant gratification. That's how my sponsor painted it to me. It's like,
wow,
I need to have what I need to have right now, or whenever I need to have it in order for me to feel good.
Wow.
And it incorporates instant gratification into just every decision that you make.
Man.
But if you get into the long line at the grocery store, if you get into the right lane and drive the speed limit, these are practice reps. These are like bicep curls for you being patient and, you know, honestly, like the fruits of the spirit coming to the forefront.
Yeah.
And allowing those to take over and allowing your character to be shifted through that. So there's only one way to get to that type of character is through practice.
Man.
And he outlines these things that, of course, when you have that instant gratification, you're gonna be like, "What? I can't do this. I don't want to do this."
Right.
Which you don't want to because we've been trained to get things now. But if we practice those things enough, then we can realize like, oh, God's taking his time on this. It's not the timing I want. I see why God's doing that.
Preach.
I see. You know what I'm saying?
So it's good, man.
It's powerful stuff.
Good word. Yeah. Well, that we try to leave our listeners, or maybe you're watching this on YouTube, just with some type of resource recommendation, and this could be ours for today. John Mark Comer's book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Here's what the tagline says: How to Stay Emotionally Healthy and Spiritually Alive in the Chaos of the Modern World. And in the NFL too.
Oh man.
But even more so. So man, this has been a dope episode. Really grateful for your transparency. I hope that somebody feels encouraged just by listening to this, hearing some of your testimony, because we all have a story.
Right.
Every person listening to this, watching this, has a story that's so like fascinating, intricate, family dynamic, geography, what's happening now. Everything's kind of shaping it. And thank you for bringing us more into yours. Would you give, maybe just look at that camera real quick and just give a personal challenge, encouragement to our listeners, watchers, on how they can level up in their leadership? Just kind of putting you on the spot as a closing statement. What would you say on how you can level up in your leadership from Darren Waller?
How to level up as a leader? I would say you have to start with knowing that you're worthy of being a leader, knowing that you're called to be a leader. There's a scripture that speaks to me a lot, that gives me a lot of encouragement. I think it's Ephesians 4:1, live a life that is worthy of the calling that God has given you.
So good.
And because oftentimes I can forget that. Like I said earlier, like I didn't have a lot of self-esteem, a lot of confidence. I'm still trying to work on that. So there's a lot of times where it's like, oh man, can I really go in there and do I really have what it takes to be that leader? And it's like, we have to affirm ourselves constantly. So it's finding scriptures like those to practice on, to meditate on, to start with that. Hey, like God's calling me to be this. I'm not going to question what God's done. I'm not going to question who God has called, because he's called me. And I'm just going to step into that, and I'm going to believe that and have faith in that, even though right now some of the mistakes I've made, some of the, maybe I haven't done things or gotten to places quicker than other people have, that has no dictation on what my future is going to look like and what my leadership is going to look like. So I'll say you got to start with believing that you're worthy of that calling. So good. Get your mind right. Get your confidence right. Yeah. Understand who God's called you to be, created you to be. He wants you to be the level up leader that he's got vision for your life. He does. And if that wasn't true, he wouldn't have woke you up. Right? And so I think every breath is another chance. And I just want to encourage everybody that just heard that. Amen. Take a step. Level up. You don't got to go 0 to 100, but maybe you can go 0 to 1. That's better. One foot in front of the other. One foot in front of the other, and all of a sudden you farther than you were in your past. And so that's so dope, man. This has been a great episode. I'm deeply encouraged by it. Excited for this upcoming season. I got the Giants tuned up. Like I'm all in. I'm waiting for the jersey to drop. You know what I'm saying? I got some red and blue kicks to match. Let's go. Let's go, man. Thank you for joining us. Hit the subscribe button if you're listening to this wherever you stream podcast content. If you're on YouTube, consider hitting subscribe, drop a comment, let us know how this is speaking to you. And if you get a chance, check out Comeback Stories. Darren Waller and Donnie are dropping some crazy content. You heard some of his comeback story, and they have great guests on all the time that you can learn from as well. This is Heiden and Darren Waller, Level Up Leadership Podcast, episode 12. Thank you for jumping in with us today. Peace. Peace.